Okay. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
I'm sure you're more than ready. What we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to talk about a condition. We're going to talk about diabetes. And diabetes happens to be the third biggest killer in our society today. And when you think about that, what's even more frightening is the fact that in the next 30 years or so, it could have the potential to be the #1 killer in our society today. Because they estimate 1/3 of all the kids that are born right now in the next 30 years are going to become diabetics. What I'm holding in my hand right now is a circuit breaker panel. And if you understand that your spine is the home of the nervous system. Now, what I have found in my practice, since I've been doing this for nearly 30 years, when I give our patients adjustments that have been diagnosed with diabetes, guess what? Their insulin or their blood sugar goes down after adjustments. So right here in this mid-back region, those are the vertebrae that affect the nerves that go to your pancreas. Now that's really significant because of the fact that you here in this room potentially won't have issues with becoming a diabetic because you're getting adjustments. Now why is that so significant? Well, what I have in my hand right now is I have a circuit breaker. So you have to imagine when I give you an adjustment, it's like turning a circuit on. So this happens to be a lung. It could be any organ in the body. But what happened to me in the practice several years ago, I was having young people come in that were juvenile diabetics and adults with adult onset diabetes. And people were coming in and saying, you know what, Dr. Bob? After the last adjustment, my blood sugar dropped. And it continued to drop. So what was going on is I know those spinal corrections were affecting the nerves going to the pancreas. So a lot of you, what you may not understand, is you won't ever become or have the potential to become a diabetic because you're getting adjustments. Does that kind of make sense to you? So I've had patients that have been involved in my practice since the beginning who are 30 years old, who's had family members that were supposed to die for whatever reason, you know, because whatever your family gets, that's what you die of. Like if your dad died of a heart attack when he was 42, everybody thinks like Elvis Presley, they're going to die of a heart attack when they're 42. But I can tell you in my own family, my father-in-law, everybody in his family died in their 50s and early 60s. My father-in-law just celebrated his 82nd birthday. What was really interesting at the birthday party, guess how many friends were there? None. They were all dead. We were looking at pictures in a scrapbook. Now when he was coming in for his regular adjustments and doing everything we suggested to do, like if his friends knew that he was getting colonics and massage therapists down the Polish club, they would have thought that he was absolutely crazy. But he's alive today because he made lifestyle changes. That's how important diabetes is. See, diabetes is the easiest condition to prevent. Hear what I just said? It's the easiest condition to prevent, but it's the #3 killer in our society today. So go figure. Well, here's what I learned. I have a friend of mine that lives in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I never knew that there was so much sugarcane grown in the southern part of the United States. Well, he told me, when I learned all this, that the people who learned how to refine sugar were from Louisiana. I could never figure that out. So back in the early 1800s, the average American consumed 5 pounds of sugar a year. Do you know how many pounds the average American consumes today? Almost 200 pounds of sugar. And I can suggest this. You could go to McDonald's, you know, the land of the Golden Arches, and ask them for their ingredients list. And what's inside? Look at their triple thick shake. Do you know how many grams of sugar? Grams of sugar are in a triple thick shake? 84 grams. Now, do you know how many grams of sugar are in a soda pop? 6. 6 grams of sugar equals 9.5 teaspoons. So imagine how many teaspoons of sugar that people are getting when they get a triple thick shake from McDonald's. So if you're eating fast food, if you're watching me on the internet and you're eating fast food and you think you're going to have blood sugar issues, you will. So what exactly is it? We have type 1, which we're going to talk about different types of diabetes. There's type 1 and type 2. I'm not going to focus a lot on type 1. Type 1 diabetes, they say, usually is in children. It's what they call juvenile onset diabetes. But I have patients that are in their 50s that have come into office that were diagnosed with juvenile onset diabetes, which I believe comes from some kind of potential viral issue. What I want to really focus on is type 2. Type 2 diabetes is when the pancreas wears out. Now we all think that it's from kids, it's for adults. But it's not just for adults anymore. You could be any age, and you could have adult onset diabetes, which is really the pancreas is wearing out. So that's really significant. So there's 8 and 10-year-old children today that could have type 2 diabetes because their pancreases are wearing out. That's the key. Okay? That's an issue. Now, I read an article about juvenile diabetes. We'll go back to type 1 just for a minute. That they talked a lot about milk. Now, I'm not saying that milk is good or bad. I don't encourage milk. I don't even think I'm saying that milk is causing type 1 diabetes. I just want you to know I read an article and they showed an association with milk, and I really think the problem with milk today is all the chemicals that they put in the cow that go to the milk that affect your body. So if you're going to choose to drink milk, and that's cow's milk, only drink organic cow's milk if you so choose to do that. So what are the possible causes of diabetes? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, statistically, most diabetics are overweight. Not all overweight people become diabetics. That's a rough rule of thumb. Most overweight people can become diabetics, but not all diabetics are overweight. That's significant. What's going on is your pancreas is literally wearing out. Now listen to me, because there's a lot of confusion about this, because some people are told to take, and you'll look down at the bottom of our page here, there's a product called Actose, glucophage, diabinase. Those are drugs that are designed, watch this, to literally beat the pancreas to make it make more insulin. Okay? So what I really don't care for is when a patient comes into me, a new patient, and they say, well, my doctor told me, and you'll love this, that I have a touch of diabetes. You've heard that term before? Nobody has a touch of diabetes. Either you have it, baby, or you are going to get it. So, and this is the part that you really have to understand and take the seriousness of this. You don't want to become a diabetic, because diabetics end up getting gangrene. They can go blind. They can have kidney failure. They can have erectile dysfunction. They have lots of major challenges in their body when they become a diabetic. So in essence, we do have the pancreas. I also found from my experience 2 other items to deal with. People don't exercise, and they have a plugged up liver. And say, why the liver? We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's go back to the pancreas. The pancreas is the main organ that makes insulin in your body. But the pancreas does something else that most people don't realize. It makes enzymes. Enzymes. So what are you saying, Dr. Bob? If you focus on eating processed food, hear what I just said? Processed food means they take the living part out. So if most of your diet is processed food, guess what organ has to work hardest? The pancreas. Why? It has to make enzymes to break down the food. So what I just shared with you is really, really important. So if you have a child that starts the day off with Lucky Charms, with brown sugar on it, and then you know how the rest of the day goes, now do you see why we have chubby kids walking around in America today? All you got to do is go to Walmart or Sam's Club. We have an overabundance of food. So you don't want kids eating processed food. As adults, you don't want to eat processed food, because processed food stresses out the pancreas. I've had many people come into our office that have had pancreas cancer, and we've helped several of them. The people who always come in that have pancreas cancer always told me the same thing. Are you ready for this? The leading cause of pancreas cancer, from my observation, is ice cream. Cheap ice cream. When I say cheap, I'm talking about soft serve ice cream. Anything that costs, $1.99 for a 5-gallon tub, because they put a lot of chemicals in that, and it stresses your pancreas out. Okay? It stresses out your pancreas. That's really, really significant. Now, the liver is also a really important part of the mechanism, because your liver is here, your pancreas is here. If your liver cannot participate with digestion, guess what organ has to work harder? The pancreas. Are you getting what I'm saying right now? So the pancreas also makes insulin, and it makes enzymes. When you eat, you always want to eat whole food. Avoid processed food, because processed food is going to stress your pancreas out. The next and last item I want to share before we take a break is you want to exercise. Everybody should exercise at least 20 minutes every day. You hit the red button. Did it stop?